What is wellness?
I think of the image of wellness as like pure joy.
The important thing is for people to choose, like, what do you want to do?
Wellness are the things your grandmother told you to do.
When you really start to think about it, the answer feels more complicated. I'm Maya Feller, registered dietitian nutritionist and author.
And I'm Dr. Kavita Patel. We're the hosts of Well Now, Slate's new podcast on wellness.
Join us every Wednesday as we tackle that simple yet important question, what does it mean to be well?
This episode contains conversations about disordered eating. As always, there's lots of hope and humor in the talk, but please listen at your discretion.
Edit audio.
The first time that I remember feeling overweight, I was like 8 years old. Now, back then, you had to visit the school nurse for a physical before the school year started. And it wasn't some doctor's office appointment where you flip through highlight magazines waiting your turn. No, it was this long, winding snake of a line through the hallways of the school filled with tweens waiting to get their heart listened to before stepping on a scale. There was no privacy. There was no HIPAA protecting my tender little heart. There was just me and my boys' corduroy pants standing on a scale in front of all of my friends. And I remember watching the numbers. I remember Mike Rouse clocking in the 50s and Matt, whatever his last name was, in the 60s. And then I got on the scale. 8 years old, weighing in the 80s. And I couldn't deny the lovely symmetry of the numbers 880. I loved that. But I also couldn't deny that I was 25% heavier than all my friends. I could just feel the shame rattling around the inside of my chest as I stepped off the scale. No one said anything mean that I can recall. And, if I look back at the pics today, I was not overweight. But I just knew in the depths of my soul that I felt fat. And I knew for me, this was not okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Robin Hopkins, and this is Well Adjusting, where I talk to people about life stuff, but not in an NPR way. It's more like we're at the bar, having cocktails, getting into your business sort of way.
It's giving drunk NPR.
Oh, and producer Steph is here too.
Hello.
Today we chat, handing down body image issues. Ooh, hello, everyone. This is a topic that is just near and dear to my heart. And I have to be honest, not necessarily in a fun way, but it is something that has taken up a very big part of my life. We're talking about weight, gaining it, losing it, obsessing about it. And today, a lovely woman named Kait joins us, and she's going to talk about how her body image was shaped by her parents and their parents, and how she wants to be the one to break the cycle for her two daughters. So put down the Dextrim and let's hear what Kait has to say.
How do I not screw up my daughters? Period. No. How do I avoid passing on body image issues to two girls? I think it's one of those things where you didn't realize quite how fucked up you were until you got older. And I think you think, no, everybody is this fucked up, right?
Yeah.
And to some degree, sure. But I think growing up, it wasn't until I was 8 or 9 that I realized I didn't like who I was, or I didn't like what I looked like. And then as I got older, there was just a lot of other people reminding me of that.
Yeah.
Right?
Family members or?
Yeah. So my grandfather would say something, oh, you better watch out or you're going to get fat like your aunt so-and-so.
That's so nice to say to an 8-year-old.
Right. And it was
don't eat that, kid. You're going to get fat.
And of course, his wife, historically had lots of issues with eating disorders and wonder why. And then as you get older, you kind of just start to internalize those things. Mm-hmm. And I think I was 18. And I remember I was in college and I like accidentally saw myself in a mirror, like in a bathroom mirror.
That's the worst when you're not ready for it.
And I had been avoiding mirrors, right?
Yeah.
Like a vampire. I cannot be seen.
They will steal my soul.
Yeah. And I was like, oh man, I hate that person. I really hate the way she looks. She's fat and ugly. And then I just started crying on the public bathroom floor. Because I think I realized, like, I had gone through a moment in high school where I just stopped eating and loved the way I looked.
Sure,
right?
sure.
I was so skinny.
I was never able to do that, by the way. I was like, my friend and I in college used to call each other the forgetful bulimics. We were like,
You binged, but you never purged.
We were like, it's fine. I'll get to that later. Should we get ice cream?
Yeah. So I had this moment where I liked the way I looked, probably like 2 years. And then I got to college, and I remember this moment where I started sobbing on some public bathroom floor, which is dirty and gross, but also just like realizing in that moment that it wasn't a phase that I wasn't going to like myself forever. I was like, I'm stuck.
Yeah.
Like this is forever. And like somehow also knew like no matter what I did, I was not going to like myself.
Right.
So I think at that point, it became so much like, okay, so this is Kait. Kait is constantly striving to be thinner, look different, have a smaller nose, change her hair, do something that'll make her happy. And she simultaneously knows it'll never happen.
Yeah, it'll never work.
Right. But like you keep doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that is where I got to a point like at 18 where I said, okay, that's just who I am. Like, and it became my personality.
The part you were saying, this is who I am, as in, forgive me, like I'm fucked up. You weren't saying this is who I am. I love my body. You were saying like this, like you were embracing like I hate myself and this is who I am.
Right. And then you start making jokes about it, and it
make
really,
the joke before someone else makes it.
Right. Yeah. So it was going to be like I was going to be funny about it.
Yep.
And I was not getting out of it.
Yeah.
And that served me fairly well for the next like I don't know 15 years or so.
Yeah.
And then I had kids.
Yeah.
And I saw. Once my girls were probably like 3 and 6 and 4 and 7, that my mom had like tried to break the cycle.
Interesting. So it is a generational thing. It's not just your aunt, it's your mom too.
Oh, yeah. So it's like, everybody in our family has had weight issues, men and women. And then my grandmother throughout my entire life and her sisters were all the kinds of people who talked about eating.
Yeah. Yep.
They all had really big families, so like 7 and 8 children. So they'd cook these humongous meals.
Yeah. Well, that was a way of showing love, like especially during times when things were lean and
totally. And they're like Depression era women, right? So they liked these huge meat and potato dinners. But I never saw them eat any of it.
Oh, that's interesting.
So they'd like make all these meals for people and then be like, I was picking the whole time. I'm not hungry.
Right.
And so my grandmother was like 90 pounds my whole life. And I think that was hard for her kids to probably not see themselves in her. Like, I think they weren't 90 pounds, right? Like my aunts and my mom are definitely not uber petite people. But I think when I started talking to my girls about like, quote unquote, healthier eating, I hate like saying that, right? Or, why we choose to have a nutritious snack instead of a Twinkie. It was then that I kind of saw that like my mom had tried to talk about things differently maybe. Right. And yet that like wasn't enough. I still turned out fucked up.
Well, okay. Let's slow down for just a second, okay?
Yeah.
Like I do want to talk about your kids because I do think that there is a piece about like how we model and what we do, but I really think most of it lives over here in Kait. Okay. And so like I'm curious, like you became successful in a career path, you got married, like so you were able to find self-esteem enough to attract a person, be with a person, show up as yourself. Like, did you do any work and what happened in there before you had kids?
Yeah, so I've been in therapy on and off since I was 16.
Shout out.
I'm not sure I ever used it in a way that like was particularly effective, but I found other things to feed my self-esteem. I wouldn't say they're particularly healthy things, but like,
well, yes, work,
right? Value in what I produce,
friends, accomplishments,
who likes me, yeah. And if they like me, then I like get to be a more, it like increases my value.
Sure.
to myself and others.
So you've strategized this in a way. You've like compartmentalized the shit out of this.
Oh,
like
yeah.
you just put it over here and like glossed up other areas, and then you were able to like walk through it.
Yeah, I think I
There you
I
go.
suppose.
There you go. Every therapist says that. Everyone was like nodding. Yep.
I statement, right? I think once I knew it wasn't going to change, like the way I thought about myself, and if I liked myself, I was like, I'm never going to be body positive. I'm never going to be someone who likes herself. But if I can gain like currency in other ways, then I've made up the difference somehow.
Right. God, you made it into like a business exchange. I've never heard this. It's genius.
Yeah, I mean, I
feel like we need to take a moment to just talk about how smart we are, like around trauma, like what we're able to do to survive, what we're able to, you created and devised a very unique system to survive and to still have the trauma at the same time. It's like good and bad.
Yeah, I think it actually would have been fine if I didn't have kids, right? Because it got me through life fine.
Sure.
And it still does. It's not like I'm crippled by anxiety every time I walk out of the house, although sometimes that happens too. When you are then in charge of someone or two someones who are thinking those thoughts, if you are not dealing with the trauma that you put away, it's not. I feel like I'm lying all the time.
It comes out your pores.
It comes out your pores, right? But I'm like lying. Like I'm saying things that I very much don't believe about myself.
Oh, God.
Just so that I can like say the right thing.
Well, this is what I'm curious about, because it sounds like we have very similar, like very, very similar issues in this, except I didn't come up with that fancy system you did, which I am kudos.
You're welcome.
I know. Way to disguise that trauma. But like when my kids were born, I was like, I have to be perfect. Like, I had this whole thing of like, I cannot break them because I was broken. So I was like, we have to be better. We have to be superhuman. They have to eat wheatgrass. But there was like a realization at some point that is just like, they start growing up and they start getting older. And I didn't account for this. They're watching you and they're smart and they see. So if you're telling them to wash their face at night and you don't, they're picking up on it.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people would come at this as just like talking about parenting plans and like our healthy eating. And I don't think it's that at all. I think it all lives over here.
I mean, I tried the parenting plans and the healthy eating. And
it doesn't work.
Yeah. Like we talk about like nutritious snacks versus junk snacks. But even that is like qualifying food in a way that like becomes evil. And
that's the stuff that's so much pressure as a parent. It's like, I want to just call it whatever the fuck I call it. But then I heard someone say, you should never say no. You should never say this. You should never talk about food. You should never talk about their bodies. And it's like,
right.
You cannot, you would just never say anything. You'd just be like, here's dinner.
Which is pretty much where I've gotten at this point,
Yeah.
which is why I'm just quiet about these issues. My eldest kid was at my mom's house the other day, and she pulled me aside when she came home and she said, I have something I need to talk to you about. And I was like, oh, crap. She said, I saw a photo of you. I didn't like the way you looked.
Was it when you were like restricting?
No. It was when I was about her age and I was round and in a tap dancing. I mean, it's a fucking hilarious photo. It's like red, white, and blue leotard, jazzy, like white gloves. And I was just like a weird looking kid. I mean, I had buck teeth.
Yeah.
I was overweight. I had frizzy hair. I wasn't like the most
You at
attractive.
your best.
Right. But of course, my mom, every mom's like, I love you anyway, and has this picture framed. So, so then she started sobbing. She said that she felt bad, like she was hurting my feelings by not liking the way I looked.
Holy shit, this is so
I was like, you didn't even have to tell me about it. I wouldn't have known.
Things would have been great if you kept this to yourself, kid.
But also like, how messed up is it just like even thinking that I don't like the way someone looks because they're larger bodied? Like she knows it's wrong, right?
Yeah.
She knows it's wrong to judge someone by the size of their body or the way that they look. But she couldn't help herself from doing it. It was like obviously just a feeling that she had.
Well, and it could have been so much more layered. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It could have been about like, that's maybe what I'm going to look like. That's
Well,
like,
so then
there's-
that's what happened. I was like trying to get to the bottom of it. And she said, that's how I look. And I was like, no, actually, you don't look like that at all. And it's okay not to like the way I looked there. And I was like, I just started spewing all those like aphorisms that you think you're supposed to say. And she said, I don't like my belly and my thighs touch. And we like started.
God, it starts so
it's
fucking
so early.
young.
She's 8. And so at that point, I just started lying a lot. And I was like, I love how strong my body is. And I love that it can help me do things. And what does your body help you do?
Appreciate your body. It got you here and where you are.
Totally. And I mean, I'm sure she's like, mom's full of shit, you know?
Not yet. Maybe soon.
Maybe. I don't know. She can see that I get dressed like 7 times in the morning before I walk out the door. So something's there.
Yeah. All right, people, raise your hand if you have ever been personally exhausted by email, right? Same, friend, same. We're all so constantly inundated with email. And if you're like me, going through your inbox becomes less about responding to everything and more about just finding a way to keep tabs on the messages that really matter, you know, like the ones from the school telling me my kids are in trouble that I get all the time. Anyway, that's where SaneBox comes in. Think of it as an EMT for your email. As messages flow in, SaneBox does the triage for you, sifting only the important emails in your inbox and directing all the other distracting stuff, you know what I'm talking about, into your Sane Later folder. So you know what messages you need to pay attention to now and what stuff you can get to like eventually after maybe a nap or, I don't know, a cocktail. It also, and I know I'm waxing poetically, but it has some very handy features like the Sane Black Hole, where you can drag messages from annoying senders that you never want to hear from again. Bye, friend. Oh, and it also has Sane reminders to ping you if someone hasn't replied to your email by a certain date. I mean, nothing like having to follow up on your follow-up, am I right? All right, best of all, you can use SaneBox with any email client or phone anywhere you check your email. I mean, come on. See how SaneBox can magically remove distractions from your inbox with a free 2-week trial. That's a deal. Visit sanebox.com/well today to start your trial, and you're going to get a $25 credit. That's sanebox.com/WELL. Go ahead, folks. Get it. Well, your honesty is so amazing and it's so helpful because like you and I are not the only people who feel this way. And I thought for many, many years that the answer was to do those platitudes, say those things, say the right things. If I never talk about their weight, if I never whatever. But the reality is like, I can't, like when they start to do something, it's my fear.
Yeah.
Okay. It's my fear of like, so my daughter is just turned 14 yesterday.
Oh,
my son is about to be 12. And neither of them are like stickly skinny, but they're not like wildly overweight. But I'm watching their sugar intake. I'm like, and with everything that they do, I'm like, are they going to become addicts? Are they going to become this? Are they going to become? So the pressure. So
because it's a train track, right? It's
yeah.
Like if
it only goes in one direction.
It only goes one direction. You can't get off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My family is riddled with alcoholism. It's only going in one direction. Do I think that they can't hear me sigh? You know, like they can hear and see all of that. They can feel my fear. And what I'm trying to do, and it's in all caps, is 2 things. And I want to hear your thoughts about it is 1, give up the idea of who they become. And it is, I think, probably the most difficult thing in the whole wide world because I want to write the pasts that have happened to me.
Totally.
Right. Can't happen.
Yeah.
I can only parent. Right. So I'm trying to do that and be like, well, if they do end up in a program, I will support them. I will love them. I will help them. Like that is all I can do. And then just trying to be really open about my story. So my kids all
Do they know
know
everything?
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about my parents and drinking. Since they were fairly young. And I do think that I started off talking about that maybe because I was like, maybe I can scare them with these stories. They're both dead, guys. Dead. It's really good parenting. But I think that it morphed into just an education of like, this is your history and you should be aware of it. And I want you to make the choices that you can make. And we started in one direction. We took away all the rules around food. And by the way, that lasted for like 6 months. It was insanity on stilts because we had started off with this, like, you can have 3 snacks a week. And then it felt like there was all this bartering going on and it was getting
negotiating all the time.
And they're like, wow, this is a birthday. That doesn't count toward the 3 snacks. And it just got so crazy that we took the guardrails off.
Okay.
And then we realized, okay, they're too young. We took off let's put some guardrails back on. So then we signed them up for a nutrition course. And I was like, we're going to give you the information and we're going to talk about what a healthy meal looks like. And then we're going to say, you make your choices. And that's where we are now. And it's it's in and out.
Okay.
It's in and out. And so I'll try to be like, no, you guys, all right, look, I know I said that you can make your own choices, but you cannot have Twizzlers. It's 9.
Yeah.
We just, after lunch, you can make that choice. But right now, let's just wait till after lunch for the candy.
Right. Because, I mean, I like that idea. And I know personally how addicting sugar is.
Oh my God. It's
and how
so addictive.
Unformed these kids' brains are yet. Right. So it's almost like saying, here's some information. You can make your own decisions, but you're also under it's like the white horse of sugar.
I was going to say, but also here's a pound of cocaine.
Right, exactly.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. And it's so fun. And it
tastes fucking fantastic.
Right.
It's rainbows and unicorns. And every birthday party, there's a snack or an option or an opportunity for a treat every 5 seconds.
Always. So,
or you did good today, which is the worst.
Oh yeah, that's fun.
That's a hard
Let's go
one
have a treat.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I do it to myself too,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. Well, Steph and I have been talking a lot about how to celebrate in a healthy way, and I only have 2 ways.
Well, yeah, what are they?
Well, one is the bubble bath, which I've talked about ad nauseum, and my other one is a walk, a nature walk. That's all I've got right now. But let's come back to you. I just think that there's 2 things here. There's the kid stuff, but then there's the you stuff, and I think I'm going to challenge the idea that Kait, who compartmentalized and put it off here and said, I think there's a little more work to be done there. And I don't think you're going to be able to go a whole life with it in the closet. I'm just going to say it. I'm ripping the Band-Aid off right now.
What's so interesting is that I think if we were talking about literally anything else, because we've had so many of these conversations, never about this topic, but the idea of pushing down any amount of self-hatred and just sort of storing it over here and focusing over here, the advice is never oh yeah, you can do that.
Keep doing that.
Yeah, it's but for some reason, I think because we're all close to this, it feels okay, well, there's no hope, or so there's a darker.
Well, it was a success. It worked for her for a minute.
It worked, yeah.
But then sometimes your solves stop working.
Well, and what's interesting, I think, with kids, I do not have kids. I have never parented anything other than myself.
Some plants.
And you're doing a great
Very
job.
well.
You're doing so good, Steph. You're doing so good.
Thank you. But I remember being a kid and I remember my parents would tell me things and I would be okay, but you're telling me that, but you're acting different.
Yeah.
I think that could be potentially more traumatizing to a child than actually
100%.
putting some of the fear in them of this is a shitty quality about me and I don't love it, but it comes out every once in a while, because it sort of distorts your memory of your parent, and it makes you not trust your parent. And I think that's what's interesting about the giving them the meal plan or whatever. You're look, I'm not sure I'm the best person to give you this advice.
Yeah.
And because I maybe have problems over here, but here's some things that you can learn. And then their trust and love and respect for you is still maintained in a weird way.
Yeah.
I think I'm finally getting to the point where I do realize I can't not talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
I am afraid that it means I have to turn into some body positive person that is not who I am.
No.
But that's the lie, is I think right now you're almost overcompensating by being I love my body and blah, 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 where it's your kid is probably is this what loving your body looks like,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whereas if you were yeah, I don't love my body all the time, but I try to focus on the things that my body does well for me, like digest food. And I love that I can go on long walks.
Yeah.
Not so much right now because I have a broken ankle, but
But I think that what you're saying is a really good point, Steph. And I think that the idea that you're going to just like the success is that you'll love your body. Those of us who have not liked our body for many, 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 many years, that is not going to be an encouragement. It's just not.
Well, it feels impossible.
And I think like, fuck it, just move that over there. Put that in the closet. This idea that you're going to love your body. Let's just deal with that later. You got to just start right at the trauma of just what do you need to support you, and to start to, like, I go to OA, to Overeaters Anonymous, and I do mostly just like call-in meetings when I do, and I know I need to be on a food plan. And like during COVID, I was not, and I was more angry. And starting, I don't know, maybe the top of the year, I got back on my food plan, and I try not to approach it about losing weight. Of course I do. I can't not think that way, but I'm just approaching it about being on my food plan. But here's the reason I'm saying this. We went on vacation last week, and it was the very, very first time in my life that I remained on a food plan during a vacation, ever. Like, I just have never been able to do it. And it was like, I'm not even going to try to lie. I was white knuckling some moments. Like, there were some moments where I was like, I don't need that bread. It was like, I was like, this is not good for me. It was like, but I was like, I had planned for it all. I had gone into it knowing I was going to be an all-inclusive, and that I love rum punch, and I was going to like have my thing. And I brought in exercise and activity. But my whole point of sharing all this is that my son, he would be like, well, why can't you have this cake? Like, they had birthday cake last night and I didn't have any. And I said, I just can't. I said, when I have that cake, I will then want 47 more cakes. That's the way it works for me. And I'm really honest about it. And so I just try to talk to him about him in particular, because I think he's like me. So I try to talk about like, all right, well, I'm looking at my meal holistically. Half my plate's a salad, so I'm going to look for a protein, and then I'm going to have a carb. And on the vacation, he was like, well, what's that? And I was like, well, I'm eating an egg white omelet. And he said, that's interesting. He said, what's in it? And I said, it's peppers, onions, whatever, And he's like, I'm going to go try one. And he came back and he was like, this isn't bad. He said, I think I prefer the regular eggs. And I said, okay. And he said, but that's a better choice, right? And I said, that is a better choice than 5 muffins, for sure. Yeah. I said, but you could do this. You're on vacation, and then you could have a muffin. So we're having conversations about how to be holistic about his plate or his meal or his day or his week. And I don't know if that's the right thing to do. I don't know if I ever will, but I know that for all of COVID, I don't know, I put on 20 pounds. They saw how I ate. They saw how I was. They saw my behavior. So like, the only thing I know to do is I just got to fucking be honest.
Okay. I want to be honest.
If you were honest, what's the thing you would say to them?
I've said a version of this before, but I would say there's something in my brain that makes me not like the way I look. That's always telling me that I look different than how other people see me. And it's like a broken part of my brain. I can't fix it. Well, I shouldn't say that, but that's what I do say.
Yeah. What if you just showed them the definition of body dysmorphia and started to talk about it in clinical terms? And then what if you were willing to say, and here's what I'm going to do about it? That's the piece that's missing.
Yeah.
Is if you give them this without any hope, then you're just telling them I'm broken.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if they see you working on it, like, what do you want to give them? I'm making assumptions, but I have to assume that you don't love that you feel this way.
That's a great assumption. I don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
A+.
So wouldn't it be amazing if they saw you working on that? To whatever end it becomes.
Yes. And I am only in the last few months, I think, realizing that I have to actually work on it.
Yeah.
That I actually have to address these things. And for so long, it's been so part of my personality that I almost feel like I'm not going to be who I am.
Who are you without it?
Yeah.
Maybe you'd just be funny, like hysterical, but not making fun of yourself.
Maybe I'd have to learn some new jokes.
I bet you could find them. Funny people find content.
And so I want that. And I especially want that because I'm also pushing myself, my daughters, my husband, everybody around me who has things they want to change. I'm pushing them to change those things and saying, I can't change myself, but you guys, you should really do
you
it.
got this. Here's a therapist number. Here's
exactly right. I'm in therapy. I'm not going to talk about it, but you should. So I realize how hypocritical that is. It certainly helps that I have like two very smart kids who are constantly calling me out on things.
Isn't that fun?
So fun. I'm like, I told one of them the other day, I was like, don't you talk back to me. And she goes, if I don't talk back, how are you going to hear what I have to say? And I was like, well, fuck. Okay, then. So it's like, I know that they're smart. I know that they can handle it. I wonder if I can handle it.
Well, you're only going to know what's inside if you start talking about it with them.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to give them a sanitized version of reality, and I'm saying this, you give it to them in age appropriate, language, you're not like, giving them heroin addiction stories in an alley. But like, I do think, the way I started talking about my mom, I've aged it up over the years. We started talking and I just said she drank a lot and she wasn't healthy. And because of that, she didn't take care of her body and she didn't make it. And then we started talking in more detail and then they had questions and I answer everything. I let them lead and I answer it. And I know it's not my journey. And it's horrifically hard to let them go on their own journey.
Yeah, when you said that earlier, I was like, oh God, what do you mean
awful.
Give up who they're going to be?
I have a note on that because you said something like, I have to let go of who they're going to become, which is so hard.
Then I 2 seconds later say, but I want them to be.
Yeah. You said, because I'm trying to write my past.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that is something that I'm hearing a lot in this. Like, that's your past.
Exactly.
Like,
exactly.
It's not their past.
I'm projecting the crap out of my past on them.
Yeah, and your present is more like how you show up every day is more important than whatever you went through before, I think.
No, you're absolutely right.
And I think there's also this thread that we like keep talking about. There's like this idea of perfection. Like you have to be perfect on your meal plan, or you have to be perfect at the gym, or like you have to look perfect in your outfit. And like if one little thing goes wrong, it's like, well, what's the point?
Oh,
you know, it's like,
wait, take that to the next level. I have to be the perfect parent.
Yeah.
I have to do it exactly right. I have to teach them this exactly perfectly. And that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm realizing I cannot do. It does not work.
there isn't that. It doesn't exist. And I think
but striving for it is stupid and it isn't helpful.
Exactly.
And it's exhausting.
Exhausting.
Yeah, because you're like constantly telling yourself, that wasn't good. That sucked. You're like going through your brain at the end of the night.
I didn't do this. I could have done that better.
Yeah. I'm a terrible parent.
Finding the middle ground for yourself, you don't have to be body positive. Like that's the perfect version of you, That's not realistic, I don't think.
Yeah.
Like what might be realistic though is maybe like you're like, hell yeah, I look good today once a month.
Yeah. It seems like we've been told forever that the fix to issues with weight or body or self-image is to love your body.
Yeah.
And that's the only fix.
Right.
And I don't buy that. I don't know. Like maybe I'm not going to ever get there, but I couldn't get to, I respect my body. And sometimes this is what I will say. I'll be like, I'm so thankful that you're still here after all the shit I did to you. Like, cause it's like, I mean, I've gained and lost 60 pounds multiple times. Like, it's like, that is so mean and so hard to my body.
So confusing for your body.
That's hard.
Yeah.
And so I can thank my body for putting up with me, with my crazy brain.
Yeah.
So there's things that can be done that aren't that. But I do think it's a 2-tier path. It's got to be work over here and then rigorous honesty with your kids.
I do want to also say that I think there's an amount that you can restructure your brain in positive talk.
Yes.
There's like a difference between like looking in the mirror and being like, I'm beautiful, I love my body, versus like every day being like, okay, what's something nice I can say about myself, and trying to like integrate that into your life. Objectively, if you walk out of the house every morning and you've already said to yourself 400 times before you walk out the door, like, I'm ugly and I hate myself and whatever, like all of the mean things that we're saying to ourselves, of course, taking time to say one nice thing about yourself will change your day. Like it will make your day a little bit better. It doesn't have to be the perfect day, but it can be like a slightly nicer day.
So I've been trying that. I have an app for that.
Oh, nice.
Well, I'm trying to build certain habits, right? Like I want to write for 10 minutes a day. I want to do all these things. One of the things that I'm supposed to do every day is say one nice thing about yourself.
I wish everyone could see how anxious she is right now. Like hands are.
I have not been able to check that box.
All right. Well, you know that we're going to
Yes.
make you say one nice thing about yourself right now so you can check the box today. We're going to close our eyes and look the other way, Steph. You're in the room alone. One nice thing about yourself. Steph's trying to get her out of it.
One nice thing about myself.
You could do it.
Jesus. I can. What I can do is I know I can say one nice thing about myself in like, I was really kind to my daughter this morning, or I, made my bed. But that's not the shit I have problems with.
Right.
Right. So
But does that extend to I'm a kind person and I'm dedicated to my home?
I guess it could extend that way. I would never go as far as to say that about myself, though. Isn't that fucked up?
I feel like I don't want to put you two on the spot right now, but I do want you to, at some point before this episode airs, record one nice thing about yourself, and we'll put it at the end of the episode.
Okay.
In the area that you're uncomfortable with. Something that makes you uncomfortable to say out loud.
Okay. I also think not liking oneself actually holds me back from other successes.
From so many things.
Yeah. Like not just like the feel good stuff of like having good relationships with my like partner or my family, but also I am certain I would have had a more successful career. I would have been farther along on my career path if I like actually liked me, because when you walk into every conversation and every
Disparaging yourself.
yeah, that's actually not attractive to other people.
Well, it's also just like people who take up more space, people who say, you should believe in me. People go, oh, I should believe in them. They look, all right, okay. And they don't even know they're doing it, but they're just like, all right, I'll listen.
Yeah.
There's that. But what if we even took that point and made it simpler? If every morning you weren't trying on 7 outfits and, berating yourself, there's no way you're present to your kids or to your partner during that time. Because you are too busy looking in the mirror telling yourself you look horrible.
Yeah. I could be doing something fun for myself.
Right. You
Which
could
is
be
why.
being connected with your kids. You could be, talking to your husband about what you're going to do later. You could be like, there's a million things you could be doing.
Yeah.
You could be taking a bath with lights.
Yeah.
One
I
of
could
my
be
two
writing
things.
by 10 minutes a day. I could
Yeah. That's one of the things that I know is that when I am in the food, I am not present. Because I could be talking to you and thinking like, after this, I think I'm going to sneak out. I'm going to try to go to the deli. And then and that whole conversation is happening while you're talking. And I can make it look like I'm listening. I'm not listening. I'm listening, but I'm not really with you.
Right.
What's at stake? I mean, and I know you know how serious this is, so I don't mean this to come out this way, but like what's at stake is everything for you.
Yeah.
What's at stake is your connection to your kids, is your connection to yourself, is your connection to being present in this world. Aren't you worth that? Like working on this and having these honest conversations with your kids? You are. You're a powerful and fantastic lady. There's huge stakes right here.
I think maybe that's the takeaway is like, instead of looking at it as just like food and eating and bringing things to your children in the right way, it's like holistic. Okay, well, what am I doing? How am I showing up for myself and for my family and for the relationships that are important, and like loving myself? And if you can't give that to yourself in words of affirmation, maybe you're doing it in other ways that are holistically approaching your life, your self-love.
Yeah. I think there's also perhaps an opportunity to change. Like, yes, it's about me, but I also think, I don't know, people who have like these kinds of like either body dysmorphia or even OCD and like control things, sometimes having an external reason is more motivating. So in my mind, if I think about like breaking a cycle that has lived for generations, like, isn't that worth it?
Yeah.
Right. Even if maybe I'm not
Even if
worth
it's just
it
a little bit
yet,
better.
but if I can see it externally first, sometimes that helps.
Yeah.
To me, that's like motivating, but it's also like a lot of pressure because then, like, what if you don't break it? Did you fail then? No. Because you made it better. You made it better.
Right.
So, like, making the generational
trauma
better.
a little less.
Yeah.
One's like, if my kids are
away.
a little bit better than I was, then I won.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I do have to say, I think the funniest thing about this entire episode is that Steph brought muffins and that they've been sitting on the table the entire
I
time
will
we
take
record.
them with
And I
me.
think that's hilarious.
Well, I will also say I have been looking at them the entire time they've been there. And like considering if I will be having one or not. And like how exhausting is that, right? That's
just
exactly it.
And I think that's a motivator, is to have some of that space back in your brain.
I can say one nice thing about myself.
You can say it right now? Go.
I can say one nice thing about
This
myself.
is a great way to end.
I really like the color of my eyes.
Oh.
Oh,
Let's
all
see 'em.
right.
They're like greenish blue.
Oh, yeah. They're beautiful.
Thank you.
Gorge.
Also, love your glasses.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess the eyes can't see very well, but man, they're pretty. See, there we go again.
So you did it. All right. I love it. Our work here is done.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we
perfect.
solved it.
We fixed
Amazing.
it.
Yeah. Robin, do you know your shirt says fat on it?
I know. It says fat ass. With my sister, it's a winery. My sister sends it to me, and I think it's the funniest teacher ever. This is the subliminal episode.
I'm literally looking and I'm like, that can't say fat. Does that say fat?
It certainly does.
Oh, because it's a
By the way,
donkey.
It's a
fat
donkey, so fat ass, and it's a winery. But by the way, this would be a great moment to cut to a commercial for a fat ass winery.
Fat ass winery. Hit us up.
Hit us up.
You have reached the well-adjusting expert of the day.
Hey friends, my name is Rosie Acosta. I'm a mindfulness and meditation teacher at Headspace and author of the book You Are Radically Loved, A Healing Journey to Self-Love. I also have a podcast called The Radically Loved Podcast. So many things. I feel like a lot of the times we have this misconception that with this self-love movement that we have to all of a sudden just love exactly what we are as we are. And I'm not a fan of that. It's taken me such a long time to cultivate a true, compassionate, loving relationship with my body, with myself. And one of the things that I love about what I do for a living is that I can actually speak from experience. I struggled with an eating disorder in my 20s, and I had a really tenuous relationship with my body at best. My body was just a vessel, and it took a long time for me to get to this place of appreciating what I had, even though, yes, there are still those moments where I feel like my body is the enemy as things start to change. It's an ever-evolving practice. I think there are many tools. First, obviously, practicing being present, allowing yourself to immerse yourself in the experience in the here and the now, to know that we are safe, to appreciate our body, to appreciate the fact that we can breathe, to appreciate the fact that we can take ourselves from point A to point B, to really think about the things that we love the most. I mean, for some people, it's like, I love my toes, or I love that I can speak, that I can hear, that I can move about the world. This body has taken us through a plethora of experiences. And so when we take a moment to practice the second thing, gratitude, when we can really appreciate just those little things, it goes a long way. When I got into mindfulness and meditation and yoga, I started to create a better relationship. And it wasn't like I accepted myself the next day, but it took some time for me to really appreciate, to be present, to breathe, to say, okay, maybe this isn't how I want to feel, but it's what I have right now. How can I make the best of it? So I really think that taking those experiences and building on that, right? Because we've built on the negative pathway for a long time. right? When you look in the mirror, it's like, what is the first thing that you say? Do you look in the mirror and say, wow, like, this is amazing. You look great today. Or look at you, well rested. We don't do that most often. Most often it's the, or I've got wrinkles, or I need to moisturize my skin. Whatever it is, negative pathway, that's taken a long time to build. So how do we habituate ourselves to a more loving, compassionate, more connected pathway? We have to start little by little. The moment that you look in the mirror and you feel that impulse or that reaction of negativity, just turn it right around. Just turn it right around. Allow yourself to have that moment. Yes, absolutely. But also take that time, take that opportunity to say, and I'm grateful for X, Y, and Z. The last thing that I will say is self-compassion. Now, this is a really big practice for me, to give myself the space to have whatever experience I'm having and not judge it. Don't judge yourself. Allow yourself to have whatever experience you're having, and know that in order to create sustainable change, you need to allow yourself to just take it one beat at a time, one turnaround of a comment at a time, one breath at a time.
All right, everybody, that is it for today. Just a humongous thanks to Kait for being so brave and open and talking about this really, really important topic. And of course, thank you to Rosie Acosta for sharing her calm and cool and collected wisdom. And I am telling you, go check out Rosie's podcast, Radical Love, or her book, You Are Radically Loved. You will not regret it. For more Robin, and you may need that, you probably don't need it, but like if you do, you can follow me at Real Rob Hops on all the platforms, all the socials, as the kids today say. Well Adjusting is an Edit Audio original, exec produced by Steph Colburn and Robin Hopkins. Thank you to Maria Passingham, Kathleen Speckert, and the whole Edit Audio team. Oh, hey, before you take out those AirPods, this show is just for entertainment. If you are in need of help, please, please, please reach out to a professional. Go ahead and get that help. You deserve it.